Arya Stark did not lose her name when it was taken from her. She lost it when keeping it began to hurt. She was already running when the choice closed. Her feet carried her through the alleys of Braavos, small and quick, moving the way they had learned to move in King's Landing. A man shouted her name behind her, the old name, the one that had once meant safety. She did not slow. The sound of it chased her anyway. Each step forward made it clearer that the name followed her like blood in water. The damage was not the pursuit. The damage was that the name still worked. It still summoned fear. It still reached her. She learned that survival had taught her speed, but not separation. She reached the house of black and white with her breath burning and her hands empty. The door did not open because of who she was. It opened because she knocked the way she had been taught. Inside, her shoes were taken. Her clothes were taken. Her small knife was taken last. The blade had weight. It had a history pressed into the grip by her fingers. When it left her hand, something practical went with it. She could no longer solve a moment with violence. The meaning came after. Without the knife, she felt how often she had been reaching for it, even when there was no enemy. She was given a bowl and a cloth and set to work. The dead did not speak to her. They lay still as she washed them, pale and unresisting. She scrubbed faces that would never answer back. The damage was subtle. No one asked her questions. No one used her name. Hours passed where nothing in the room required her to be Arya Stark. The meaning came slowly. Silence could erase as effectively as a blade. A man with a gentle voice corrected her grip on the cloth. He did not look at her face when he spoke. He did not ask where she came from. The absence pressed harder than interrogation. When she finished, he nodded once. Approval arrived without identity attached. The damage was not humiliation. It was relief. She learned that usefulness could exist without being known. She slept on a thin pallet with other novices. In the dark, someone whispered a childhood name, not hers, testing if it still worked. No one answered. The room remained quiet. The damage settled in her chest. Names had power only when someone responded to them. Meaning followed. Anonymity could be learned if practiced together. She was brought before the black and white door again. The kindly man asked her who she was. She answered with the truth that still hurt. He asked her to name herself again. She did. Each time the same. The damage came not from his refusal, but from her persistence. She felt the name harden as she spoke it, like a stone she insisted on carrying. The meaning appeared only after repetition made it heavy. Holding on to it was an action, not a default. He told her to give up what she loved. He did not list items. He did not threaten. He waited. She reached into her boot and felt the absence where needle should have been. Her fingers closed on nothing. The damage was immediate. The thing she loved most was already gone. The meaning followed with a dull clarity. Loss does not ask permission before demanding sacrifice. She left the house and walked the city. Braavos moved around her, busy and indifferent. Merchants called out prices. Sailors laughed. No one said her name. The city offered a version of safety that did not depend on memory. The damage was distance. She realized she could pass through a crowd without leaving a mark. The meaning arrived with unease. If no one noticed her, no one would remember her either. She returned at dusk. The kindly man placed a cup before her. He said it would make her no one. He did not explain what that meant. She lifted the cup and drank. The liquid burned. Her stomach twisted. She fell. The damage was physical and immediate. Her sight darkened. When she woke, the world had narrowed. She could hear but not see. The meaning came as panic settled. Without sight, even her own body felt unfamiliar. Blindness followed her through the days. She bumped into walls. She misjudged steps. The staff struck her when she failed. Each blow was precise. It corrected behavior, not identity. The damage accumulated. Pain taught her where she was, who she thought she was. She begged in the streets with a bowl. Coins clinked. Shoes passed close to her hands. Some kicked the bowl away. Hunger sharpened everything. The damage was exposure. She depended on strangers who did not know her. The meaning arrived with bitterness. Need stripped away the usefulness of pride. At night, she whispered the names she had carried for so long. They sounded thinner in the dark. Some slipped away before she could finish them. The damage was not forgetting. It was dilution. The list no longer held the same weight. Meaning followed like a bruise. Vengeance required a self sturdy enough to hold it. When her sight returned without warning, she flinched. The room came back too suddenly. Faces reappeared. The world rushed in. The damage was disorientation. She had adapted to less. The meaning formed quietly. Adaptation makes previous versions feel excessive. She stood before the kindly man again. He asked who she was. The answer waited in her mouth. It did not come easily. Saying the name now required effort. The damage was hesitation. The meaning surfaced only after that pause. The name had stopped being automatic. She said the name anyway. It landed between them and did not move. The kindly man listened as if to a sound already fading. He told her she was not ready. He told her to leave. The damage was dismissal. The door closed without ceremony. The meaning came after the wood met stone. Refusal could be quiet and still erase a future. She returned to the streets with her bowl. The rhythm of begging came back faster than expected. She learned which footsteps meant copper and which meant nothing. The damage was acceptance. This life required less explanation. The meaning followed with a tightening in her chest. Ease can arrive when ambition is reduced. She was struck again, harder this time, not for failure, but for recognition. The staff found her ribs as she turned toward a familiar voice. Pain took her breath. The damage was exposure. She had responded to memory instead of instruction. The meaning settled in the ache. Memory was now a liability. They gave her tasks again. Washing, carrying, watching without watching. The work did not care who performed it. The damage was repetition. Days stacked without markers. The meaning appeared as her thoughts thinned. Time can be endured when it stops asking questions. A face appeared before her one evening, known too well. The man from her list spoke kindly. He offered her something warm to drink. Her hands shook as she accepted it. The damage was temptation. Familiarity reached for her through a stranger's skin. The meaning arrived with fear. The past could still find her if she stood still. She poured the poison. She watched him drink. His body failed quietly. The damage was confirmation. Her skills had not left her. The meaning came after the breath left his chest. Ability survives even when identity is denied. The kindly man did not praise her. He did not condemn her. He told her she had taken a life for herself, not for the many-faced God. The damage was exposure. Her action had revealed its origin. The meaning followed without comfort. Motive clings longer than method. She was sent away again. Each closing narrowed the space she could imagine returning to. The damage was pattern. Exile repeated until it felt instructional. The meaning surfaced with exhaustion. Some places only accept those who no longer want entry. She returned to the playhouse. She learned lines and gestures. She learned to wear another face in public. Applause came and went. The damage was performance, approval attached to fiction. The meaning came as she removed the mask each night. Being seen did not require being known. The woman with the staff found her in the dark. The fight was brief and brutal. Blows landed where training had taught them to land. Pain folded her inward. The damage was loss of certainty. Survival was no longer assured by speed. The meaning arrived with blood in her mouth. Mastery invites correction. She fled with a wound that would not close. Blood marked her path. She collapsed in a stranger's room. Fever followed. The damage was helplessness. She could not move or plan. The meaning emerged through delirium. Control dissolves faster than identity. She woke, healed, by someone who asked nothing of her. Soup appeared. Silence remained. The damage was gratitude without attachment. Care arrived without claims. The meaning came with a soft confusion. Kindness does not always demand a name. She returned to the house one final time. The woman waited. Steel met steel. The fight ended with breath torn away and a body stilled. The damage was finality. One threat ceased to exist. The meaning followed as the room went quiet. Ending something does not restore what it cost. She stood before the black and white door again. The kindly man asked who she was. This time, the answer came clean. The name surfaced without strain. The damage was clarity. Choosing it meant accepting everything it carried. The meaning settled at last. A name is not protection. It is weight, willingly borne. He told her she was Arya Stark of Winterfell. He told her she was no one no longer. The words did not contradict each other. They aligned. The damage was synthesis. She could not unlearn what had been done to her. The meaning formed from that irreversibility. Identity is what remains after all attempts to erase it fail. She left Braavos on a ship bound west. The city receded. No one called her name from the docks. The damage was quiet departure. No witness marked the moment. The meaning came with the salt wind. She did not need to be summoned anymore.